All right, guys, if you haven't yet, make sure you upload 441, your slideshow presentation, under Thursday and Friday's post. Just make sure you name it whatever section of the race you have. Okay, so we're going to take a little notes. This section, this is in the intro of 441, so hopefully you've already read that. If not, you can go back there and read the intro, but you're going to see these questions on the test this week. Okay, so during exercise, nearly every one of your body systems helps divert energy to the muscles and meet the demands of intense activity. Especially, I mean, we're just going to be kind of focusing, obviously, since she's running, but even just other exercises, going to the gym, you're going to need energy for your muscles. The coordination of your systems helps your body return to homeostasis, even after miles of running or hours of basketball. So, guys, we can really push our bodies to limit. You've heard of people doing like triathlons and things like that. But because we are able to do that because the systems work together. Hopefully, you learned that through your part of the race. So we studied ATP a lot last semester and this semester. Remember, it's energy molecules of the body. This is the main source of energy. And how does it basically give us energy? Remember, the last phosphate bond breaks off, and that releases energy to be used for whatever the body may need. For example, muscle contraction. We just learned that not too long ago. And then in order to go back to ADP, and we do need an energy input, such as glucose and phosphate, the bond reforms. So we know the structure of the molecule and what happens chemically to release energy, but let's take a deeper look into how our body produces this key resource. So how do we get ATP? I'm sure most of you guys are thinking cellular respiration, but there's a few other ways as well. So we're going to talk about three. You've probably heard of two, maybe not necessarily the first one, but because ATP is so important to the body, there's three routes our body uses to assemble this precious resource. So we're going to kind of go through one at a time. The first one we'll talk about is the phosphagen system. This is ATP that we have readily available. This is like for short, very short, needing ATP quick. We're talking, guys, that only is available about 8 to 10 seconds. So this isn't something that's going to be used for long term, things like sprinting. We'll talk about anaerobic respiration. So it's a little bit longer, but not as long. This is the lactic acid fermentation, which I'm sure you guys learned in biology. So something like a swimmer. And then you guys have heard about aerobic respiration. We talked about it last semester, and that's more of unlimited, so like a marathon runner. The ATP that you have floating around in your system will only provide fuel for a few seconds. So that was the phosphinogen thing that we were talking about. This is the yellow here. So we're talking very short seconds here. So muscle cells contain a high energy molecule called creatine phosphate. A phosphate group on this molecule can be added to ADP to create a supply of ATP. However, that creatine phosphate is in short supply. The system, the phosphagen system, will only supply energy to the muscles for another 8 to 10 seconds. Okay, so basically, guys, with the phosphinogen system, this is real quick, 8 to 10 seconds here. Once that ATP is used up, your body then turns to glycogen, which is a polymer of glucose that is stored in the liver, and it tries to get energy that way. The next step, which lasts a little bit longer, is anaerobic respiration. So if you guys remember from biology, that's where glucose is broken down to two pyruvic acids. Remember glycolysis? And there's two routes that we can go here, okay? First route, we need oxygen, which we'll talk about in a second, but this is when oxygen is not available. And so we go through anaerobic respiration. We go through lactic acid. I'm sure you guys have talked about alcoholic respiration, that is more yeast and things like that. But our cells are available to do anaerobic when oxygen's not available. So we're still getting some energy around 2 ATP. And a byproduct is lactic acid. This is called anaerobic because oxygen is not required. Without oxygen, however, this process can only give you another 90 seconds worth of energy. So better than the phosphinogen system, but not quite where we would like it to be. So it's this gray line here, okay? We're good, and then it kind of drops down around a minute. And we can see here glucose, we get glycolysis, so we get a net gain of 2 during this process. Once your heart and lungs get into the game and oxygen makes its way to your cells, glucose can be broken down by the process called aerobic respiration. So although this process proceeds at a slower rate, aerobic respiration produces much more ATP per glucose molecule and allows for sustained physical activity, which you guys should have seen in the race. So as long as fuel is present, aerobic respiration will keep you going. Your body systems work together to utilize the body's resources and provide power to both day-to-day activities and extreme endeavors. So hopefully you guys were able to get that information. Please look at the intro. It's really important that you know these 3 systems for your test on Thursday. And hopefully you guys were able to see how the systems work together during the races. Okay, so now what you guys are going to do, if you look under Thursday and Friday's posts, hopefully, there's 5 different sections here. You should have done 1. That means you need to take notes on the 4 other sections of the race. And I'm hoping that everyone, at least one person from each section, has posted. That would be great. I'm going to be checking it to make sure that it's there. And just make sure that you make your PowerPoint shareable, because even though it's there, other people might not be able to see it. So make sure you change your share settings if it is blocked. All right.